Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back. Today we have the honour of Miguel Flores, who's come to talk to us to kick off the seminar series for the new year. So Miguel finished his PhD at Pablo Olavida in 2015, and since then has done postdoc positions both at the EBD but also in Mexico, and is now a research scientist at the Center for Global Change and Sustainability in Mexico. Yeah. And today he's going to be talking about his work on mammal-frugivore interactions, particularly in the tropics and in context of global change. So thank you very much, Miguel.
Thank you, John. So good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for coming. And it's very hard since the holidays to be here, also for me. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here to give this talk and to talk to you about all the work that I have been doing for almost 2 years in Mexico. So this project is it's a project that borns with the idea that emerged with the idea of two colleagues that we are having beers and we are discussing about our research lines. And one of them is Enrique Martinez-Meyer, who works with climate change and species distribution. And me, that I work with interactions, and specifically with seed dispersal interactions. And we go and we say, we want to work together. So let's make a project together and also let's go to a very nice place. So that's the main idea of this project. No? So we create this project, we develop this project with these two research lines, climate change, global change, and interactions. And we want to know what happened in the tropics. there's a lot of vulnerability, mainly in Mexico. I will show you in the next slides. And we want to know the functional part and the effects of climate change on the functional parts of the interactions. So, yeah, that's the reason of this project. To be happy, to be in a nice place, to be in spectacular places like the jungle and the rainforest, and to see the animals and the nutritious plant. So just for an introduction, I want you to show you this slide with the planetary boundaries. This is a framework proposed by Rockström. He works in the Stockholm Resilience Center. And for us, global change encompasses these planetary boundaries. So since 2009, that when Rockström proposed this framework, they make a very thorough review about all the changes that have been happening in the planet. So they proposed these planetary boundaries, and in that year, we were transgressed biosphere integrity, climate change, biochemical flows of phosphorus and nitrogen. And right now, in 2023, the last review, we are transgressed 3 more, including land system change, new entities, and freshwater use. So, of course, these planetary boundaries have feedback and interact between them. And for the purpose of this project, we focus on 3 of them. So climate change, biosphere integrity, specifically in the functional part, and some of land system change. This is, the last one is not really in this presentation, then I will talk why. So this this information is always, I have to say it, because in Mexico, when we write about the biodiversity, we always say Mexico is a mega diverse country. So I have to say it always, because it's true. So we have a lot of species. We have more than 65,000 invertebrates, more than 23,000 species of plants, reptiles, mammals, birds, whatever you want. So we are the 5th place in diversity. Mexico is the 5th place in biodiversity. And this biodiversity right now is constrained to the natural protected areas. In 2024, last year, there has been an increase of, I think, 18 new protected areas. Some of them are very, very small, 2 hectares, 1 hectare. But well, yeah, we have 232 hectares. That covers almost more than 30% of all the territory in Mexico. So this is more or less almost 92 million hectares that is protected in Mexico. And there's also people that they propose their lands as protected areas. And these areas are 1,233,000 hectares that are relatively protected. Yeah, this is very nice. We have a very good amount of protected areas, but the real situation in Mexico is a very deforested country. So in the last 22 years, this is just for forest vegetation, we have lost almost 5 million of hectares in Mexico of primary forest. So there's a lot. And if we make some calculations, per year we have lost 222,000, more than 222,000. That is equivalent, I searched in ChatGPT, how many is this in national parks in Spain. And in a year, we could lose with this rate, Pirineos, Sierra Nevada, Monfragüe, no, Picos de Europa, Monfragüe, and Doñana in just 1 year with this rate. So it's a lot. Just to put you in a context, it's a lot of deforestation. We are the 16th country with the highest deforestation around the world. So yeah. The most of the deforestation happens at the south part. If you see I will not use the laser because I'm like a crazy cat with a laser. So I just pointed out. So the red part in the southern part is the deforested area. And you can see almost is in the Yucatan Peninsula and in the frontier with Guatemala. So the green areas, the bright green areas that you see at the southern part, or the west part of Mexico, are the east part, sorry, are the natural protected areas that are functioning, serving as strongholds for conservation. Of course, this deforestation is reduced in 1.8 gigatons of CO2 that is changing again, and greenhouses increases in Mexico. So Mexico has a great vulnerability also for climate change. It has been a lot of works. Mexico is a very prolific country doing these research papers about vulnerability in climate change. And in a recent work by Australian collaborators in 2023, they make an historic review about the climate change since 1900 to 2022, and they conclude that Mexico is about 1.59, 1.81 centigrades above the baseline that is 1900. So Mexico has been warming since 1900, and the precipitation patterns also has been changing in the northern part and the southern part. So in the northern part is the Nearctic, has been a less precipitation, and in the neotropical, that is the southern part, has been an increase of the precipitation. So we have a lot of vulnerability. The country is warming, and there's a lot of deforestation in our country, and this has caused us that the species are very threatened. We have a regulation in Mexico called NOM 059 Semana 2010 that is more or less like the red list. And this make an evaluation of all the species and establish a protection for the evaluated species. In the list, in this regulation, there are 2,600 species, and the most represented group is the mammal group, well, the vertebrate group, sorry. And this is for two causes, because they are very interesting for the people. So there are a lot of studies that we can see about the distribution and the abundance of the mammals and the vertebrates specifically, and also because they need a lot of space to be well in the space. So what do we know about climate change and the relation with biodiversity in Mexico? Well, not much. As I said, there's a lot of study about vulnerability, projections, distribution of animals through climate change, but we lack of information of the historic climate change that has been happening in Mexico that could respond to the patterns of the species distribution that we have right now. So, but in the past, right now, 4 years, they have been published these 2 papers that are really, really important for climate change, or the biology of climate change, by Guillermo Murray and Ángela Cuervo and collaborators, and they make a truthful review about the historic conditions about climate change. They make surface, gridded surface with a lot of periods, well, 3 periods, but there's a lot of information in these 3 periods about the climate conditions in Mexico through this 100 years, between 1910 and 2009. So with this information, the government and UNAM created a new database. You can enter in the website of the Instituto de Ciencias de la Atmósfera y Cambio Climático, and the other one is in Conavio. So they have all the information about this surface, this gridded surface, with the paper of Cuervo Roballo. And with this information, you can relate the change in climate for the period that you want with the species distribution that you want to research. So we make a review about how many papers has been used, the historic conditions, climate conditions, and there's not a lot of information, at least in Mexico, of how this climate change condition affects biodiversity. So I present you, there are 8. So one of these studies is the vulnerability of forestry species to climate change. And they found that there is an increase in tree mortality because of the increase of stress conditions that creates a very good environment for forest pests. The other one is the shrinkage of high altitude grasslands due to the tree line is going up and up and up. This is not only are disappearing this type of ecosystem, but all the interactions related to this. An old study that has been done with lizards, with the Celophorus lizards, they found in Mexico that in some places the temperature goes more than 3 degrees in these areas, and they make a very good research, and they discovered the extinction of, I think, 3 species of lizard of this genus. Mangroves is a very good example that the climate change is not always bad for the species. And in Mexico, they are expanding their distribution to the northern parts. The problem with the mangroves is that the touristic activities in Mexico are deforesting all these type of ecosystems. Of course, coral bleaching in the Caribbean Sea. And these 2 studies that show that the northern community of birds are enriched by the southern communities. So the southern birds are migrating to the northern parts that are colder than the current habitat. And the last one is my favorite. It's a story made it for octopus. It's octopus maya. It's a very delicious octopus. So they discovered that the population has been increased, and the fisheries are increased their capture from 6,000 to 19,000 tons. So this fishery is one of the most sustainable fisheries in Mexico. So if you go to Mexico, to Cancun and Riviera Maya and everything, you can eat octopus without concerning about the population. So we make this review, and yeah, we didn't found anything about climate change or historic climate change and how they affect the interaction of the functionality. So there are a lot. There are some studies that investigates this pattern, and one of them, I think one of the most important, is this study of Scullin that study how vulnerable or how sensitive are the interaction networks if you remove plants or if you remove animals. This study, as many of them, was made with data of seed dispersal and pollination interaction in Central Europe. So the patterns they found are very located in a very specific area, and they were unable to extend to tropical areas that have different patterns. But still, it's a very interesting result. And they discovered that when you remove animals, like in the blue graph, the plants resist or persist all along the time when you remove this percentage of animals. So we saw an effect only when you remove above the 70% of the animals. In the other case, when you remove the percentage of plants, you see almost in the 25% a decrease in the animal persisting. So they conclude that ecological networks are more sensitive to the extinction of plants than the animals. And of course, that the more specialized animals are more vulnerable to extinction, also with the plants. So what happened with the plants and climate change and interactions? This study by Philly et al. They make a review with 2 million data from 100,000 plants, and they run many climate change scenarios, and they found that plants may need to move as fast as 10 kilometers per year to keep pace with the climate change. So plants, and certainly in the tropics, need the animals to disperse the seeds, the animals to move through into the space. So if we have these patterns, at least theoretical patterns, we have a very, very nice problems with the interactions and the persistence of the community of vegetation, the vegetation communities. And so, yeah, this is the background and all the information that we have to this project, and to see if our project was interesting or not. So we choose this area that we like it a lot, that with tropical forest, rainforest, and it's the Usumacinta River basin. It's a basin located in the southern part of Mexico. Here it is. It's a very large basin, and it's a very nice place, and it's the richest basin in Mexico. It has almost all the tropical forest areas in the country, and it's a very complicated area because it's a transboundary basin. We share with Guatemala 55%, almost everything is in Guatemala. There's a little part in Belize, and this has a problem. This is a problem because it's a political conflictive area because of all the resources, the water resources, the cattle resources, narco traffic, and okay. So this is a very large area with 7.74 million hectares. The river is 1,100 kilometers long, and this area has the 30% of the superficial water available for Mexico. So it's a very strategic area for the country and also for Guatemala. Vegetation, there are a lot of types of vegetation. I put you the main categories. So we go from the montane forest to mangroves at the northern part in the lower basin. And in biodiversity has 3.83 million hectares of primary forest. It has 45% of Mexico's biodiversity. In the last study and last review, there are 6,977 plants, 1,551 vertebrates, and more or less 45 frugivorous mammals. What is the situation in the Usumacinta River Basin? Well, this is there is the polygon of Usumacinta River Basin, and we saw that almost is red, all the basin. So in the last 22 years, the basin has lost 1.61 million hectares. That's a lot. And we can see a pattern between the two countries. So you can also see in the image. And in Mexico, there is the protected areas are really working as a stronghold for conservation, while in the unprotected areas, the deforestation has increased over the years. This data are from 2000, 2018, 2019, I think. But in Guatemala, we don't have this pattern. The deforestation goes on. In fact, this area here is a national park called La Laguna del Tigre, and it's totally deforested. There's no primary forest in there. Yeah, well, yeah, a little polygon. So we also analyzed the climate change in the Usumacinta, and in the right, we saw the mean temperature, and each line is a year. So we can, in these lines, we can see that the temperature has increased in the last year. So the low temperatures of the years, the colder years are in the bottom part, and the hottest and the warmest years are in the upper part. And we saw that there is an increase from the last 4 years of 1.5 centigrades of mean temperature. And in the precipitation, we didn't see a pattern, really. There is no decrease or an increase of precipitation. But we saw that the rainy months has been, the rainy patterns has been changed all around these 40 years. So this is a really bad problem. This is a problem with all the phenologies of the plants, and of course with the plants that the animals that depend on these plants. So yeah, we have the same problems as the country, but in a very small area. And this is the situation of the river and the Usumacinta River Basin, and we want to know, as I said at the beginning, what's happening with the interaction of these animals. So first of all, why the mammals? Because my colleague has been centered all his research in mammals, so we decided to go with mammals. And frugivorous, because I do frugivorous, and so that's why. And because also the seed dispersal in the rainforest, as I said it, is fundamental for the structure and the maintenance of this ecosystem. So we want to know if there is a climate change, if there's a warming of the low basin, and if the animals will distribute or expand to another cooler places. And if this is happening, what is happening with the plants, and what is happening with the interactions with the two of them. So of course we expect that there will be decoupled distribution patterns between plants and animals, and this area will be very vulnerable to the climate change scenarios. This project has two components, one a theoretical or reviewing approach, and another empirical approach. So the this slide, we have here all the objectives. And the empirical approach has been done in the southern part of Mexico. We didn't go to Guatemala because we don't have money. So we keep here in Mexico in the most conservated area of the basin in Mexico. So we have 3 sites, each one with a replica. So the highest site is Lagunas de Montebello, or National Park, 1,500 meters above sea level. The other one is a middle part, is a voluntary conservation area, is Nuevo Huixtán, and the lower part of these points is the southern zone of the Biosphere Reserve, Montes Azules, specifically in the Lacandona rainforest. So in these places, we record all the plant mammal, not all, but maybe a lot of them, of the plant mammal assemblage of frugivorous mammals and nutritious plants. And we want to characterize plant-frugivore interaction in these areas. And with the theoretical part, we want to model, base it in diets and base it in our findings, the current potential distribution species and the fleshy fruit plants, and the impacts of climate change from these periods, and characterize the theoretical composition on plant frugivorous assemblages. So for the empirical study and the interaction sampling, we sampled bats, because bats are the main seed dispersers in the New World and in the rainforest. So in each point, we stay 3 nights per site, and we do it in twice a year, in the dry season and in the rainy season. So we place 6 mist nets. We make 5 hours of sampling and check every mist net every 30 minutes. The target family of bats were the Philostomidae. These bats fly in the understory. So this is a very good method to trap them. And we collect all the fecal samples. We place a plastic sheet below the mist nets and collect all the seeds and the fecal samples with seeds. And then we review it in the laboratory and identify it when possible. We also made a photo trapping in these 2 seasons. We placed 42 camera traps on the understory. Why 42? Because there are places 7 per site, and we don't have more cameras than that. And 18 canopy cameras when we were able to put it. And when we were not able to climb the trees, we placed natural offerings to see the animals that were eating these fruits. Also, every time we go to the field, we monitoring primate troops, and we made traces in search of fecal samples, and we record all the observation of animals feeding on fruits. So I will show you preliminary results of this project. We don't have many results, but we have. So we make this first analysis of how the climate change will be, climate change scenarios in the Usumacinta basin, and with the shared socioeconomic patterns that works with greenhouse gases and socioeconomic politics that change the amount of greenhouse gases and change the radiation and the energy. So you can create a scenario when you can talk about how many policies of sustainable development has been followed or not. So the nicest scenario is the first one, the red one. So with the best scenario, we are doing everything good. We conserve, we make restoration and everything. The temperature will be 2 degrees more, yeah, almost 2 degrees more. In the next scenario is a trend scenario. There will be 3 degrees in more, 4 degrees in more. And with the worst scenario, we don't do anything. We deforest everything. The temperature will be raised to the 5 degrees more. So if we do everything good, it's not, I don't know if it will happen, but if we do everything good, we make this model with the species distribution. We take the 1,551 vertebrates and make distribution models between 2018, the first map, and 2050 and 2070. So what we saw is that the distribution of the richness of vertebrates will change even in 50 and in 70. And the upper part, well, sorry, the lower and the upper part of the mar, the lower basin, will be lost a lot of richness of a species of vertebrates. And only the middle part of the basin will hold some of the richness of vertebrates. So there will be a loss of diversity in this area, specifically with vertebrates. So this is one of the preliminary results. We still have missed the plant distributions because there are a lot of plants, more than 5,000 plants. So it's difficult for us to reach this result. But, well, yeah, you have the vertebrates, included the 201 mammals that lives in the basin. As for the bats, we, in between 2023 and 24, we have 798 captures, very well, and almost all for the Philostomidae family, with 23 genera and 28 species. From this information, we have 279 samples with seeds. So it's a very good group that gives us a lot of information. And then our master student, Pamela Herrera, that will be coming the next week here to an academic stay. And she's making all the seeds in identification. So right now, she has identified 4,500 seeds, more or less. She's still working. And she identified these 5 families. The one, okay, wait. This is Urticacea, Moracea, Multinginaceae, Solanacea, and Piperacea. These are the primary or the principal families that bats eat. So there were 279 samples. She has reviewed 120. So there's still a lot of information that we don't have. We also make a very good review with bats interaction all along the basin. And this review, part of this review was made by Josué Sanchez. He's also in the project. And we also have data of Sergio Hernandez and the data of Pamela. So with this data all together, we have this network. It's a raw network. It doesn't have any type of work, just the image. But we know that there are 33 families that the bats interact. So yeah, these are the results. And I really want to give this talk because I want to show you the videos of the jungle. And I think this is the best part of the talk. and you will enjoy it, I hope. So this is a natural offering. This is an agouti, Dasyprocta punctata, and it's eating a tree that is called Ramon and Brosimum alcastrum. So yeah, a lot of mosquitoes. And a squirrel in the same natural offering of Ramon is eating. Then I hope you see it here. There's a mouse. We think it's a Paromyscus, but with mice, it's very hard to know the species. This is a singing mouse. Eating fruits of the palm. White-lipped peccary. Also with a natural offering of plum. This is a deer, a very small deer. It's not feeding, but it's nice. Here is Coati, right here, and he's eating zapote, Manilcara zapota. Anteater, a tamandua. And unfortunately or fortunately for us, all the activity of the frugivorous happens in the canopy. But it's very difficult when you have trees of 30, 40, 50 meters. So Lucia Acevedo and Jorge Isla is here. And thanks to the Ramon Ares Foundation and Resemex, they obtained a small amount of money to travel to Mexico and help us with the installation of this camera trap. So here's Lucia, and she has been done installing this camera trap in a plum tree, and you will see why it's so difficult. So yeah, and this is Jorge. And the camera is put in to film this palm, Atalea butyracea. So it's done, yeah. Okay, and there's a lot of video. I will not put everything because we will not finish this seminar. Oh, well, you have a spider monkey with a calf, with a little monkey in the back. We also have a scarlet macaw. And we also have some helpers in the jungle that are not human, but they are very helpful. So he's looking how the camera was put it, install it. He didn't like it. So yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, okay. So now I can. Yeah. So it's a Quincayú, Potus flavus, and he's eating the fruits of Ficus insipida. Here's also a kinkajou. It's jumping right here. A howler monkey. We also place cameras in places that we know that the fauna will be there. So we have this observation. A margai, mountain lion. So this is not these animals are not very vegetarian, but they are very nice. Not all the jaguars like the water. Better not. So we have this that I like a lot. So when you are in the jungle, this is the most dangerous animal that you will find because there are a lot of individuals that go for you. They also are very stinky. And bird appeared. And finally, jaguarundi. So yeah, that's all for me, and I want to thank all the people that are involved in this project. There's a lot of people here, and many researchers, Enrique, of course, Julia, Rodrigo, and many students. Thanks, Pedro, for all the cameras that he has lent us, and to all the people in the field stations, in the hotels and in the hidos, and yeah, thanks to everybody, to all the people that feed us, that take care of us, and thanks a lot. Without them, that will not be possible. To all the institutions that give us money, and thanks to you, to the Fundación Ramón Areces, to ResMX, because they give me money to be here in this academic stay. And thank you.
All right, thank you. We are, let's see the time. We have some time for questions. Anyone want to kick us off? Anybody? I can. Oh.
Thanks for your interesting talk. Very funny video. Yeah. One question is your distribution model, a species niche distribution model. I mean, I suppose, no?
Yes.
Yeah. You only know the previous distribution and in the future.
Yes, we make the 2018 distribution model with data we take. We go to the field to many of these data. We have 300 sites where we go to make a sample of all vertebrates. And with this data, we fit the model. And we have the data of 2018. And then we put, these are with Maxent, we make these models. And when we put all the data of this and change the climate variables and the new conditions to see how this climate niche will vary.
Yeah. Yeah, other question is, I don't know, probably it's difficult, but have you some information if you have record the elevational shift in distribution of plants or or your mammals, especially those
Is
species
there a,
involved.
sorry, okay, is there a?
Yeah, if there are any elevational or altitudinal shift
yeah.
in the period that what some previous baseline records or no, I don't know.
So our work in the altitudinal gradient is the first one that is done in the area, and in Mexico in the tropics we didn't find any work similar. So this is the first data that has this type of information. Yeah, but also we have the information of the points that I told you, and the altitudinal values. We didn't put this in the model because it's integrated in the precipitation and temperature, well, integrated. But we didn't put it in there. We also have, I didn't show you because it's very, I don't know how to say, very sad. Because we also have a land change model that we do in 2018. We do with a trend scenario, and when I compare this model of this map with the current deforestation, the map didn't do, our model didn't do the right thing, because there's a lot more of deforestation than the predicted, a lot more, mostly in Guatemala. Yeah.
Anyone else? I was going to ask, when you talked about the bat surveys for frugivorous bats, you said you were targeting a specific group because of the point of the canopy that you were able to put mist nets. I was just wondering how much information does that miss at other parts of for other species at either higher levels of the canopy?
I hope not much. No, it's a very behavioral thing. This family always fly, mostly all the time fly in the understory. So you capture almost this family of bats. Yeah, in some places we saw the bats right above the nets, and we want to make this, but we.
But is that the primary group that's frugivorous that is for the species interactions?
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
This is the only family that is frugivorous.
Okay.
Awesome. Have frugivorous species.
Cool. Anyone else? Anything online? Okay. Any more questions? All right. I think then with that, we say thank you to Miguel again for a wonderful talk and beautiful videos from the tropics. And take care. Thank you.